Danny Phantom was one of the biggest Nicktoons during my teen years. I watched every episode I could. I was actually invested in the relationship between Sam and Danny, plus I'm pretty sure Tucker is why I had so much patience for technology these days. I played just about every game around this teen who was literally not that much older than me at the time. The Flash games were where it was at for Danny's adventures. Plane shooter where you basically just conduct a dogfight with different characters represented by color scheme, a beat 'em up where you swap between your human and ghost forms for puzzles and avoidance, a 1v1 fighter that me and my brother crammed in front of a PC keyboard to play once we unlocked everybody. Strangely, when it comes to outside the dead world of Flash games, Danny's console adventures are actually limited to his guest cameos on the Nicktoons United series, which is what I'm calling it because it's basically Nickelodeon deciding they want to do a platformer Smash Bros. And not a party fighter like everyone else. Even though, sure, those games are fun. Battle for Volcano Island is still peak of that series in my opinion, but Attack of the Toybots cameo list is pretty paramount as well. Either way you spin it, Danny was relegated to Flash games and never really got a standalone console try, mostly because THQ went out of business for a bit. However, the games he did get were on GBA, and with how they were pumping games out, I figured it was only a matter of time before we got console versions with bigger stories or a three-dimensional look into the strange, ghost-filled world of Amity Park. Yeah, kid me learned to take what you can get after waiting for a while. Danny Phantom Urban Jungle is a 2/2.5D side-scroller where you mimic R-Type and blast through hordes of ghosts while tracking down and taking out Undergrowth and his ghastly goons.
Wait, that's not the first one.
I know. I'm gonna get to that soon. This game follows the special episode surrounding the hype of Danny's new ice powers. Considering they released this the TV way of loading it onto as many things as the budget would allow, this is on the GBA as a 2D and on the DS as a 2.5D. Both of which are polarity shooters where you juggle Danny's powers and follow the episode story near verbatim.
Okay, yeah, that's cool, but like,
Sweetie,
there's
sweetie,
another
sweetie, come here. Listen, honey bunches, I'm doing this one first because I'd rather not have the video end with one that's basically a minty smelling fart, in my opinion. The game's good, but yes, I prefer the other one too. Just be patient. I have a script to follow here.
fine.
Good heckler. Unlike the better game, which was limited to PNG stills that got keyframed around while a text box tells you what they're saying and doing, this game has 3D backgrounds that the camera moves through to represent the sets for keyframed PNGs. Plus in the GBA port, we get talking, moving sprites. And honestly, since this game is mostly flying around and blasting things, it needs it. Not that much in my opinion though. Won't be going over this story because I want to compare it to its episode later. I will say that this game is solid on both DS and GBA. It's obviously more robust on the DS since they had more processing and memory power to work with. The levels and hazards are basically full 3D as well as some effects. This lets boss fights be changed up a bit as they have different attack patterns in each port. One massive diff between their gameplay is that for the GBA, when you get a power change, you need to find another power change in order to change it again. On the DS, however, you can collect them and swap them with a tap. Your health ups can be tapped and used as well as your ghost power boost too. Any ghosts that you suck up enough of them at once and you can get a power boost. GBA though, you can only stack one power boost and boost it like Star Fox. When you hop in the Spectre Speeder on GBA, it makes you play Time Crisis for a whole segment. On DS, however, the Ghost Zone turns into Tempest Cotton. 3D ghosts will fly at you while you pilot the Spectre Speeder, hurtling through the Ghost Zone. Both games let you pick powers and weapons to bring into each level type, Danny is of course being different from the Speeder, and you get a nice little grab bag of callbacks to the show here. I'm pretty sure they combined several episodes into this game because Youngbeard, Walker, and Technus all show up, strangely enough, and mimic plots of episodes that I swear I remember happening before. Plague and my cousin Peck had gotten the GBA and DS versions of this game, so a quick game trade with Bro or visit to the cousin's place, mostly because we played outside games with him more often, but also because of the fact that he was in a hard-set Nintendo household and we didn't have the OGBS. And I was able to side-scroll through the skies of Amity Park offline. Meanwhile, I had gotten our next and best title of the Danny Phantom franchise. Danny Phantom Ultimate Enemy is a 2D beat-em-up that follows the TV special of the same name in some scenes near verbatim. I'll save the story breakdown for another video because I want to play this game casually. You play as Danny and Dan in certain levels, following the main points of the episode, but to my surprise, when falling back into one of my various inspirations for how I draw, stop looking at Coast like that, she's less likely to grant your wish and more likely to send you far, far away. For a GBA beat-em-up, this game is solid and pretty well made. The combo system is pretty tight for enemies and boss fights, and Danny improves as the game goes on, gaining more of his ghost powers. Dan, of course, starts out with them already because, well, he's for a different subsegment, alright? Ignore him. Danny's not just limited to his fists and boots either, as he carries his thermos on him. Every so often, baddies will drop ectoplasm in 2 colors, green and purple. These can be collected with the Fenton thermos. With the power of its silk, you turn purple ectoplasm into power and green ectoplasm into health. Yeah, I'm not too sure why those aren't swapped either. Purple power fills your ghost meter and lets you cast ghostly blasts. These can change depending on the direction you input as you get stronger. Not your only way of collecting or using your power either. Hit select and you'll power down to human form, letting your ghost meter charge over time. Plus, you can spend a bit of your ghost power for temporary iframes. Danny Fenton can't do much outside of use the thermos run and take damage. Dan, of course, can't turn into Danny Fenton because he's a full ghost. To assist you in the case of not wanting to stop swinging, there are power-ups in the form of Fenton tech that boost your offense and defense, or change up how Danny fights altogether. Of course, since this is a game about the movie, you gotta have this special little move here. The Ghostly Wail. Danny can sacrifice all of his ghostly energy to unleash the screams of the damned from his very being. This is risky as a play though, because using it makes the universe not like you and unphantom your Fenton. There are also sun segments where you'll need to take to the skies and chase after a ghost. Probably where they were testing the idea of, urban jungle TBH. These flight segments are 2 in appearance, and they're mostly a score fest for you to harvest some more experience for Danny. Now that we have Danny out of the way, I'm gonna just open my lunch real quick. Yeah, for some reason, Burger King wanted a piece of this pie. Hence, they sold toys with codes for the game that unlock extra content in the form of minigames and extra ghosts. I, at the time, happened to only get one very important code. Rush. Here's where we get to Dan Phantom, by the way. This is the boss rush mode, where you can swap betwixt Dan and Danny. Danny being able to be leveled up and down to provide a bigger challenge, and Dan being utterly unstoppable to all the bosses. This mode even comes with extra bosses that weren't in the base game due to not being a fight in the actual episode. Technus, Ember, Skulker, and a few more become boss fights rigged up with their gear and moves from the shell. This is of course alongside bosses that were in the story. Game's pretty short, so I say this is a good way to stretch it out, especially since they were restricted to a promo with DK. That's literally what these are called, by the way. So I found out while going about my adventure that there's extra content in these games. Well, not so much for the DS though. We'll get there. Should you finish either game on your Game Boy Advanced or Game Boy Advance Especial and decide to load back into your save, you'll be met with an alternate scene that basically says, hey, there's more game for you to play, don't leave yet. Jumping back into urban jungle and tackling the boss rush rewards you with another final scene in Walker's prison.
Wait, why is Walker here that doesn't have like 3 separate
I
special...
know, look, another day, alright? So during the game's story, you inadvertently cause a jailbreak trying to deliver undergrowth to said prison. Hence the end of the game is framed as catching all those escapees, which is why we got the boss rush. Anyways, beating that mode unlocks another scene at Walker's prison where Danny delivers all the ghosts he caught. There's a picture that's shown at the end of the scene, but Walker stating that there's 1 ghost left and that the ghost gallery confirms this fact. Every scene in the game can be replayed in a theater mode. Lastly, there's a sound test which lets you play all the music and sounds of the game. On the GBA, the DS just got music. Honestly, the DS didn't even get an options menu, to my surprise. So there's no theater in this version either. The one with the cool 3D sets that your camera moves through. Instead, the credits segment moves through those sets in the top screen, while the bottom one plays the credits from the GBA. Sure, you get the same win screen at the end of the missing escapees, but you can't add this scene to your collection. I know that he's telling me to finish the gallery, but by this point I'd rather do it on my DPSP than my special edition DDS. Danny may not have had any solo console adventures, but hey, what can you do? Urban Jungle is fun and secretly a good way to actually get a video game look into the ghost zone and the chaos that's probably wrought there. Ultimate Enemy will forever, hands down, be the best Danny Phantom game to me. There's tons of beat-em-ups on every console. Lots of them are so samey and repetitive, and others kick so much booty that enemies need to lock you into a room just to get at you, which comes to their detriment. For a GBA game, it makes Danny feel like a real fighting force. I know this is basically supposed to be Nickelodeon doing the Spider-Man thing, you know, making a teen superhero, but I think that for a handheld game, they hit the mark as needed and did a bit more. I may have beat it casually in 2 days, but if I were really trying to get through it quick, I'd probably beat the story in like a day, but there's replayability in Danny in case you were paying attention. By the time you beat the game, Danny isn't fully leveled. If you decide to load back into that save, you'll find that there are challenges for each of the levels that you played through, allowing you to unlock other boss fights that weren't in the game and are only available to that specific few who got the rush code. However, if you got the rest of the codes, the mini games may be short, but they're pretty fun. You know, except the one where Skulker makes you wait till he flinches. That one's kind of mid. Now, until whenever I post next, I'll be hunting the new ghosts I accidentally released into Amity Park's trash ecosystem, and to go play hide and go seek. Played just about every game that was around. This, a 1v1 fighter. Yeah, a 1v1. Strangely, when it comes to outside the world of the dead Flash games, Danny's console adventures are actually limited to his guest cameos on the Nicktoons United series, which is what I'm calling it because it's basically Nickelodeon deciding they want to do a platformer Smash Bros. And not a party fighter like everyone else. But Attack of the Toybots can't. Either way you spin it, Danny was relegated to Flash games and never really got a standalone console to try. Danny Phantom Urban Jungle is a Why do I write like this? Why do I need to be bougie? Danny Phantom is an urban jungle. Put all of this at the end of the video, I guess, cuz. Anyways, considering they released this is on the GBA, and also whatever ghosts you grab don't boost your actual power meter.